Former United States Marine arrested last fall and turned over to immigration authorities might have been the victim of racial profiling.
27-year-old Hilma Ramos Gomez was arrested in November after accessing the helipad at Spectrum Butterworth and then trying to set it on fire. He suffers from PTSD and despite having his U.S. passport on him, was turned over for deportation. Today, 13 on your side's Emma Nicholas talked to his attorney about new documents published by the ACLU that contradict the report released by GRPD last week, clearing the officers involved. Emma?
Grand Rapids Police's interim chief says officers acted out of concern for public safety. In an effort to provide transparency, they say the department's response was lacking. The ACLU has now released documents showing how officers involved allowed the veteran to end up in ICE's custody.
If you don't contact an agency that's responsible for deporting people unless you're trying to get people deported, and that's what happened here.
Grand Rapids Police Interim Chief David Kittle said his officers acted appropriately by contacting ICE out of concern that Hilma Ramos Gomez had committed a possible act of terrorism. But in documents the ACLU obtained through a public records request, a Grand Rapids police captain makes no mention of terrorism. In one subject line, he refers to the Marine Corvette who struggles with PTSD as Loco. ACLU Michigan attorney Miriam Ackerman says this officer was blatantly making fun of the veteran's struggle.
And about a disability that he acquired as a result of his service to our country on the battlefield. We should honor our veterans. We should respect our veterans. We shouldn't make fun of them if they come home disabled because of what they did on behalf of all of us.
In his release Friday, Kittle said an officer used unprofessional language and that it had been addressed. Ackerman says that's not enough.
And what's incredibly disappointing and disturbing is that the Grand Rapids Police Department, even when you have something this blatant, doesn't accept responsibility, doesn't hold the officer accountable for what happened here.
Ackerman says officers continue to fail Ramos Gomez.
The prosecutor says, wait a minute, he's a U.S. citizen. Isn't he a vet? Didn't you have his passport? And they had a sort of blasé response. Oh, maybe, I don't know. Is it too much to open up the file and look and say, oh yeah, look, he's got a U.S. passport. We should make sure he doesn't get deported.
Ackerman says there will be no progress within the city without GRPD first taking responsibility.
When you have local law enforcement colluding with ICE, collaborating with ICE, entangled with ICE, you are going to see racial profiling, and that's exactly what happened here. I think
we did reach out to the Grand Rapids Police Interim Chief for comment, but he says he stands by the statements made on Friday. The ACLU Michigan says they have a list of questions that have remained unanswered by the department. Nick?